Vaughan, London, and those are just 2 pages. It does seem to me that your 30,000 names are coming from across the country, correct?
Well, across the
Yes or
country
no?
is no.
No? Are those cities not outside of Toronto?
May I respond?
Are they? No, I'm asking you. Are those cities outside of Toronto and outside of Ontario, some of them? Yes or no?
They are part of a region called the GTA.
No,
Remember,
I don't think.
there's Dundas,
Sorry,
Ontario.
when did
There's
Moncton-
Dundas
when did
townships
Moncton-
all over Ontario.
When did Moncton become part of the GTA?
We're all Canadians.
When did East Gwillimbury?
This
When
is
did
a
Bonnyville?
microcosm of a
When did
national issue.
Gravenhurst?
So
When did
you're
Brampton?
splitting hairs,
When did
Councillor
Brant-
Fletcher.
I'm not splitting hairs.
For you trying to discredit the petition by saying there's a
Actually,
Moncton signature,
am trying
that's
to-
low stuff, and everybody
sorry.
sees it.
I
There's
am
nothing
now
wrong with the
reading you-
occasional signature from somebody in
It's
Moncton.
not occasional.
It's
That
a
was
beautiful
2
town.
pages. Let's face facts.
We are
that
facing
Many of the
facts.
signatures in your petition are from across
Okay.
the
So
country.
we'll put this on
And you're
publicly.
telling me
We'll put
that
this on a
Trent Lakes
website
is
and
part
let
of the
the people
GTA?
decide.
I'm sorry. I'm finished questioning. Thank you.
Etobicoke, Toronto, North York, Toronto, Burlington, Downsview, Richmond Hill, Concord, Vaughan, Windsor, Mississauga, Toronto, Etobicoke. You're cherry-picking Moncton to discredit the petition. That's also disingenuous, Councillor Fletcher, and the whole city's watching.
What, Councillor Tate, why don't you just finish answering the question?
I'll put it online so everybody can be it. I'm all for transparency.
You're done? Councillor Fletcher, okay, thank you so much. Any other questions to the deputants? No? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Next speaker, Joey Scolari. In 5 minutes.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
You can, go for
Hi.
it. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would call on Mayor Chow to use her strong mayor powers to end this fiscal, social, and dystopian madness. The citizens of Toronto do not want their tax money wasted on this personal agenda realization. When I was a young boy, I had the pleasure with my Italian immigrant father, who barely spoke English, of meeting Ed Broadbent. He made a huge impression on me. So much so that when I was in the 7th grade at Pierre Laporte Junior High, I wrote an article on Ed Broadbent and the NDP party. He was kind to my father. He was fair to my father. He spoke to my father respectfully, even though my father spoke in broken English and was embarrassed. Years later, when I started in the media business, I had the pleasure of meeting Jack Layton, who to this day, along with Mr. Broadbent, were 2 of my favorite politicians because they cared about what everybody thought. You know, they cared about the majority. They listened to everyone, but they made the best decision for the majority of the people. You know, I shudder to think of what would happen to, you know, the Jack Layton terminal had Councillor Moisey been in office when it was named. Maybe it would have been renamed something else. And this guy's a guy who I looked up to along with Ed Broadbent as a child. You know, the original petition had apparently had 14,000 signatures. It was called Let's Rename Dundas. It was on a site called Lead Now. They claim to be a nonprofit independent organization, but are clearly politically left. If you look at their FAQ page, they're a partisan lobby group. They've been accused of falsifying petition signatures on multiple occasions, and specifically the incident involving signatures on a petition regarding the Kinder Morgan pipeline, which included fictitious names such as Frosty the Snowman and Yogi Bear. These names were discovered during the verification process. Henry Dundas was a documented abolitionist. He didn't achieve his goal. I think that he tried. And his methodology was that he knew that he couldn't railroad it through, but he had a plan, and his plan didn't come to fruition in a timely manner, but it ultimately helped lead to the abolition of slavery. He was responsible for submitting resolutions to Parliament which made it illegal to import African blacks into any British colonies, plantations, or ships owned by or navigated by British subjects after January 1st of the year 1800. You know, surely spending money on a bunch of signs, which is now over budget. You know, I know Councillor Moyes has been on record as saying that he doesn't have much taste for corporate sponsorship. That's been in the newspaper. Yet, in part of the plan for Sankofa Square, you're going to reach out for corporate sponsorship. So that's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth from what I can see. Let's get to the name Sankofa. I have a lot of friends that are Ghanaian. I play hockey with them. They're lovely people. They've come to this country to make a better life for themselves. But there's some things that happen in Ghana that are absolutely awful. There's a place called Lake Volta. Have you ever heard of it? It's the largest artificial lake in the world, where children as young as 5 are forced to work for free up to 18 hours a day on fishing boats, which include being thrown into parasite-infested waters to untangle fishing nets, where they usually die a horrible death. The children are beaten, they're sexually exploited, then they usually drown. I suspect that maybe Ghana needs some reflection on how they treat these children. Go to freetheslaves.net for detailed information on how you can help. I've gone there and I've helped. Ghana still has sex slaves. They're called trikosi. They're called shrine slaves. Underage girls are still sent to fetish priests to atone for some family members' sins. These priests commit horrible sexual transgressions against girls as young as 10. I think that maybe we have to take a step back.
Mayor Chow. Mayor Chow.
Oh, no, that's just a fact. I think there's a...
Just 1 second, I have to interrupt you. I have a point of personal privilege from Councillor Perks.
Am I allowed to speak?
Just hang on a second. Yeah, you still have 1 minute, just hang tight. Councillor Perks, you have a point of personal privilege.
Yeah, the City of Toronto has a very strong, open, and available commitment to confronting anti-Black racism. At the beginning of many of our meetings, we read statements acknowledging the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. And I want to be able to conduct a meeting without listening to the kind of thing that was being said about Black people in Africa. And I really do think it's outside of what's permissible in a public forum like this to listen, to say the kinds of things that the deputant was saying.
Yeah, I agree. So, Mr. Scolari,
I'll finish
I
my
want
last
you
minute.
to focus on the square and the naming and the budget, which is properly in front of us.
Okay.
Not the country.
We have massive financial problems in our city. There's people on the streets dying of drug overdoses. We're afraid for our safety. Yonge and Dundas Square is kind of a frightening place at times. Spending Section 37 money on a bunch of signs to rename a square of any name is a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a waste of my money. And the majority of the people of Toronto, there was a survey a couple of weeks ago, 72% people are against the renaming. 16% are for it, and 12% don't know about it, nor do they care. So if you look at the majority of the people of this city, they don't want their tax money spent on renaming a square. They want their tax money spent on things like housing the homeless, getting people with mental health issues treatment, dealing with drug addiction. Those are big problems in our city right now. And I think that taking a pause and a step back and maybe thinking about a better use of these funds is the proper course of action.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Question to the deputant, Councillor Holliday.
Mr. Scolari, I'll ask a similar question as I did to the previous speaker. Do you think council is offside with the wishes or the expectations of the population of the city?
I just think that the people of the city should be consulted when you're making decisions that involve our money, and we weren't in this case. And look, if the people said Sankofa Square was what they wanted, I'm fine. That's what the people wanted. But I just think that this was done in a manner where the vast majority of Torontonians were unaware of it, and now they are aware of it, and they're extremely unhappy about it.
So if people aren't consulted adequately, And if there's a sentiment that council's offside with the wishes of the people, does that further enhance or erode the confidence in government by the population?
It erodes it. I don't think people trust government as it is, and this is another example of why they don't.
And if there's a break in trust, does that hinder the government's ability to do things such as run a financially secured city, take on things like confronting anti-Black racism, or do things like provide services?
Yes, I think people just throw their hands up and they don't get involved and they just walk away from it. I think it really hinders the city. I think it hinders city council's credibility. And by not including the greater Toronto area, the people, the city of Toronto, they've made a major mistake, and I think it's coming to light now.
Thank you.
Any other questions to the deputant? Okay, no, thank you very much. The next deputant is Joey Goldman. Are you here, Joey Goldman? Are you online? Mr. Goldman, are you online? Joey Goldman? Okay. Okay, not online, not here. Linda Dundas. You are online? Linda Dundas, I believe you're online. You can speak now?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Just speak up. There you are. We can now see you.
Thank you very much. Let me just get myself sorted. I'm stuck.
No, we can hear you.
Thank you. Your worship, esteemed councillors, my name is Linda Dundas, and my comments relate to item 1F, rebranding of Young Dundas Square to Sankofa Square. A brand is intended to create a positive association in the mind of the targeted audience and ultimately produce benefits for customers and value for owners and shareholders. With this in mind, I have a simple question. Why would you think that it's a good idea to swap the name of an individual who, as the public record shows, defended Indigenous rights in Canada, defended Black loyalists, supported Francophone rights and bilingualism, successfully defended a runaway slave, was an early supporter not just of abolition of the slave trade, but of slavery itself, and proposed a comprehensive and pragmatic 12-point plan to end it, for instead the name of a tribe in Africa that was notorious for selling slaves and even much worse?
Madam
What
Chair,
brand will that
point of
create?
privilege.
And what will it
Just
say
one
about
second.
Toronto's brand?
Just 1 second. Hang on.
Point of privilege.
Oh, I just reset it improperly. Ew. I'll let it run for 1 minute. Councillor Perks.
Once again, we have a deputant who is straying into territory that I feel violates the city's off-stated commitment to confronting anti-Black racism. If we could just have order.
Yeah, Councillor
And I
Perks,
ask
just to
that
finish.
you
Yeah.
remind the deputant that is, we want to create an environment where everyone feels welcome to participate, and this kind of language will be alienating to many people in Toronto.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you for pointing that out. Ms. Dundas?
The name is the name, and it has the origin that it has. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay, continue.
Shall I continue?
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
What brand will that create, and what will it say about Toronto's brand? As to Sankofa, learning from the past, to those who put that name forward, not only have you obviously not learned from the past, but this renaming is incredibly disrespectful of those you purport to honor and of the citizens of Toronto. It debases the city and makes a laughing stock of it on the world stage. How has Toronto learned from the past when City Council ignores the writings of experts in peer-reviewed articles that exonerate Henry Dundas, such as those by historian Angela McCarthy, not to mention the request from 3 former mayors of Toronto asking that the renaming decision be reconsidered? What will it say about Toronto as a principal city in Canada that city officials willfully ignored the facts and the will of the people and continued to promote a false narrative to push through a senseless and costly change rather than elevating history and the opportunity for all to learn from it? What lesson will history take away about the people who steamrolled this through without appropriate governance and consultation based on ill-founded recommendations from inexperienced consultants? And what will Toronto's brand be at the end of all of this? Here's the past that we should learn from. Again, all on the public record and supported by peer-reviewed research from renowned scholars. History shows that by his words and by his